Greetings and welcome to a little discussion about silver. My name is Bill, and today I'd like to talk about historical values and have some updates to the long-term historical charts. And what you're looking at there is a physical silver, 2 ounce high relief antique finish Sun Tzu Art of War bullion round that showed up about a week ago or so. And that reminded me I hadn't read it in a few years. So I went back and took a look, and something something hit me. All right, so let's talk about history. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Section 2. This is Giles translation, approximately 1910. Section 2, Waging War. Sun Tzu said, in the operations of war, where there are in the field 1,000 swift chariots, as many heavy chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers, with provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li, the expenditure at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items such as glue and paint, and some spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is the cost of raising an army of 100,000 men. I had to read it again. 1,000 ounces of silver per day for 100,000 men. Found it again. Section 13, the use of spies. Sun Tzu said, raising a host of 100,000 men and marching them great distances entails heavy loss on the people and a drain on the resources of the state. The daily expenditure will amount to 1,000 ounces of silver. Again, 1,000 ounces per day for 100,000 men. Well, what's different about this compared to historical? I did a little search to see when this was written. Okay, 500 BC, so 2,500 years ago. And then I saw there were alternate translations, and I forget the other translation what it was, but every place silver is translated, every place the word is translated as silver, and this one is translated as gold. So let's go back to the historical ratio of 15 to 1 and read it again. If this said thousands ounces of gold per day, that would be 15,000 ounces of silver, which would allow you to pay your 100,000 guys a tenth of a ounce of silver per day and have $5,000 for these other ideas per day. So again, it goes back to historically. A day of labor was worth a tenth of an ounce of silver, physical silver. Two places in here, but you got to I believe this should say gold rather than silver. All right. Before we move on to the chart, we need to talk about math a little bit. Slide rule uses logarithmic scales to add and subtract. This one has trig. You can do sines, cosines, tangents. Folded scales that begin and end with pi instead of 1, in case your calculations are running off the numbers. But you can do trigonometry. You can do powers. You can do squares, square roots, cubes, cube roots, n powers because of log scale. Very powerful instrument. This is what my father used when he went to college. When I went to college for engineering, I used a TI-55, but I was jealous of the guys with the HP-41C. We had calculators. But slide rules, very, very powerful. You have 3 different log scales. The first order, which is thousandths. L2 is tenths. L3 is whole numbers, but different scales. I didn't really learn about slide rules until 5 years ago. And when I get into something, I get into it. Uh, so yeah, I learned how all the scales work to do all the functions. And this is the one that went with the astronauts during the NASA program. Same scales, just a miniaturized pocket version. Fan of math. Big fan of math. Okay, let's get started. So I just explained to you kind of how you can use logarithmic scales to multiply and divide. So when I use the BLS inflation calculator.gov, put $1 in 1998 and how many in 2016? 1.47. So the original scale here, that's your 1998 dollars. And then over here you got your 2016 dollars, and all I had to do was line up one on this scale, or no, one on this scale with 1.47 on this scale, and now you got your 2016 scale there, all the way down. Okay. Another big event, 2.5 years ago when I tried to calculate the above ground silver, I figured it was about 1 billion ounces, but just for fun, for my calculations to give me a factor, a safety, I figured 2 billion ounces above ground, ready to go. Well, thanks to David Morgan's interview on Money Metals Exchange a week ago Friday, he said that CPM Group said that the low was down here in 2006 of 500,000 ounces of above ground silver. 500,000. In 1477, which is the focus, and these are just general lines. I know they're not. That's just the trend. That CPM Group confirmed that 2015 there was 2 billion ounces of silver above ground. So 1477 there was 7.5 billion ounces. Now there's only 2. Let's go to that's above ground silver. That's that line. Now, yes, I know that Manhattan project took 10 billion ounces of silver for their refinery project. So, yeah, that's a data point. 10 billion ounces at least during the 1940s. And we know from CPM Group also that there was only 500,000 in 2006. That's that red X data point. But right now there's only 2 billion ounces above ground silver ready to go. Let's compare that to the population explosion kind of since then in 1477. And I have data on this in my quarterly report that I published 2 years ago if you want to find my links. But we had about 7.5 billion ounces of silver above ground and 500 million people, 500 million people. That was 15 ounces for everybody on the planet. Let's go to today. There's 2 billion ounces above ground and 7.3 billion people. So there's less than 3/10 of an ounce for every human being on the planet right now. Less than a half ounce. Less than a half ounce now, today. So, okay, we know we can use this scale, the 2016 dollars, and come over here. Whoa, it's above. The all-time high from 1477, which was 806 in 1998, is 1183 now. We know there was 7.5 billion ounces above ground, which gave silver a market cap, number of ounces physical, times the value, the price at the time, $8.9 trillion worth of silver on the planet in 1477. That's what it was valued in 2016 dollars. So 1477, you figure half of that was silver, half of that was gold. So it also had half of the value of all the money on the planet, percent cap, half of it. Because if you're mining at 1 ounce gold to 15 silver, but it's valued 15 ounce silver to 1 ounce gold, you know what rate your silver and your gold stockpiles are increasing is 50-50, and that's what that ratio is. Okay, and that goes back to Sun Tzu's time. in 500 BC. This chart only goes back to 1344. But you can run this out. Three more scales. One, two, three more scales to the left to get to Sun Tzu's time. And that was still pretty much true. And the price was up here. Okay, so there's our market cap. 8.9 trillion, that's the yellow line, all the way down to 32 billion. And we know what it is today because there's 2 billion ounces and it's $16 an ounce. You gotta be kidding me. So $32 billion is all the market cap of all the physical silver in the world right now. I'm guessing there's at least a quadrillion dollars, pounds, yens, yuans, all the other stuff for a 0.032% of market cap now. Oh, guys. Okay, so my point. I concluded 2.5 years ago that silver was the bargain of a lifetime. A couple more things I want to point out. Okay, so we talked about the three scales. Okay, we got the actual above ground silver stockpiles went from 7.5 billion ounces. It went up and down. It hit 10 up here. It hit a 500 million down here, and now it sits at 2. You got your per capita goes from 15 ounces to less than 3/10 of an ounce per person on the planet right now. Less than 3/10 of an ounce, and you can buy 6 ounces for $100 right now if you find the right deal. But make sure it's good, reputable dealers. And the market cap from 8.9 trillion to that. If I tried to plot that one, the 50% of all the money on the planet, here's your 50% right there. We use that scale, that 5, to plot the 0.000 or no 0.0032%. And yes, that's correct. We would have to go 3 more scales down. So it's going to be another full page down that way. So that one's going to look like crazy. So let's talk about the demand. That's the supply. Okay, there's 2 billion ounces supply. We mine 800 million ounces a year. The demand last year was 1.3 billion ounces. So I'd like to what I see is we see a steady trend of less and less above ground where there's only 3/10 for every person on the planet right now. How come it didn't go like this? This is where I think the price should be based on supply demand fundamentals. Somewhere in this neighborhood right here. Not right there. Not at $2016 an ounce. It's ludicrous. Ludicrous. So, I challenge anybody and everybody to draw me a demand curve, and here's your most recent data points that justifies $16 an ounce yesterday. And this was May 30th, 2016. Spot was $16 a troy ounce. Inflation calculator said one 1998 dollar was 1.47 2016 dollars. So that's a third of the value of that dollar gone since 1998. And then there's your other scale, if you like math and logarithms, so you can, I've corrected the prices down here. And okay, so let's wrap it up. Here's where WRM came along here in the early 60s. That's me right there, came along. So since my lifetime, look at that, only been a few times lower. And look at it historically. I know the price should be up here right now. It should be top of the chart. And I can buy it for that, and you can too. Just make sure you're buying good stuff. Okay. I'm trying to think. That's everything on the chart. So I thank you for watching. I hope you consider taking just a few of your savings and buying some in your hand physical. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, was the old chart went to 2004. So I stretched it out and I did an axis here. That's the 2016 axis. and I did not fill in silver points in between. That's the 2016 $16. Look, you can see only been lower a few times. That's how much we mine per year. That's the demand. It's simple. I challenge anybody. Show me a demand. There's our 75 to 1 on the ratio. Uh, so we can go back 500 years, and it was around 15, 16 to 1. And we can go back 2,500 years, and that was pretty much the value of it. What happened? What happened? Who can explain the supply-demand fundamentals to me? Because I understand the supply. What's the demand? I'd like to wish best wishes to everybody that watch this, and I thank you very much. Till next time, this is Bill signing off. Bye-bye.